"Sit down, mother. You are embarrassing yourself." My son said those words to me in front of 12 investors. I was 62 years old. I had built this company from zero. And now he was treating me like a confused old woman who did not understand business anymore. Before we proceed, thank you for watching Her Voice Narrative. Please subscribe and tell where you are watching from in the comment section. The boardroom felt cold that morning. The air conditioner was too loud. Or maybe it was just my heart pounding in my ears. I sat at the far end of the long glass table. The same table I had chosen when we moved into this building 15 years ago. Back then my son Marcus was still learning the business. Now he sat at the head of that table like a king on his throne. Marcus wore a black suit that probably cost more than most people earned in a month. His hair was styled perfectly. His watch gleamed under the bright lights. He looked successful. He looked powerful. But when he looked at me, his eyes were cold, like I was a problem he needed to solve. The investors were there for the biggest deal of our company history. A merger worth $75 billion. $75 billion. The number still made my head spin. But something about this deal felt wrong. I had spent 3 weeks reading every page of the contract. Late at night when sleep would not come, I studied the numbers. And what I found scared me. Marcus cleared his throat. He was about to present the final terms to everyone. This was the moment he had been working toward for 6 months. His moment of glory. "Before we begin," Marcus said, looking around the room, "I need to address something unfortunate. My mother has been having some concerns about this merger. Concerns that frankly show she no longer understands how modern business works." The room went silent. Every eye turned to me. I felt heat rise to my face. This was not how I thought this meeting would start. Marcus continued talking like I was not even there. "She thinks we should walk away from this deal. She thinks $75 billion is not enough. She does not understand that global tech industries is offering us the opportunity of a lifetime." I opened my mouth to speak, but Marcus held up his hand. "Please, mother. Let the adults handle this. Let the adults handle this." My own son. The boy I carried for 9 months. The child I raised alone after his father died. The young man whose college education I paid for by working 3 jobs. He just called me a child. Daniel Cross, the CEO of Global Tech, leaned forward. He was 50-something with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Mrs. Harrison," he said, "I understand you have concerns. Perhaps we could discuss them." Marcus jumped in before I could answer. "There is nothing to discuss, Daniel. My mother is 62 years old. Her memory is not what it used to be. She gets confused about details. Yesterday she asked me the same question 3 times about employee benefits. That was a lie. I had asked once. And I asked because Marcus had no good answer." One of our board members, Robert Chen, spoke up. He had been with the company for 20 years. "Marcus is right. Perhaps Mrs. Harrison would be more comfortable waiting outside while we finalize the details. More comfortable. Like I was a confused grandmother who needed to rest. I built this company." My voice came out stronger than I expected. "I started Harrison Solutions 38 years ago in my garage. Every client we have came because I worked harder than anyone else. Every dollar we earned came from my ideas and my sweat." Marcus sighed like I was a stubborn child. "Yes, mother. We all know the story. You started small. You worked hard. But that was decades ago. Business has changed. You have not kept up." The other board members nodded. Some of them looked uncomfortable. But none of them defended me. These were people I had hired. People whose careers I had built. And they were all nodding along as my son tore me down. Marcus stood up and walked to the presentation screen. "Let me show you all why this merger makes perfect sense. Then maybe my mother will understand." The presentation was impressive. Charts showing revenue growth. Graphs predicting future profits. Numbers that looked incredible on paper. But I had seen these same numbers. And I had seen what Marcus left out. When he finished, the investors clapped. Daniel Cross smiled. Robert Chen looked relieved. Marcus looked triumphant. I stood up slowly. My legs felt shaky, but I refused to show weakness. Marcus, I said. Did you tell them about the pension funds? His face changed. Just for a second. Flash of anger. Then the smooth mask came back. Mother, the pension funds are being restructured. It is standard practice in mergers. Restructured means eliminated. I looked around the room at the investors. Did he tell you that 400 employees will lose their retirement savings? Did he mention that the profit-sharing program we have had for 25 years will disappear? Marcus slammed his hand on the table. This is exactly what I am talking about. She does not understand that some sacrifices are necessary for growth. Sacrifices. I felt something break inside me. Marcus, those are not sacrifices. Those are people. Janet in accounting, who has worked for us for 18 years. David in sales, who put 3 kids through college because of our profit sharing. Maria in operations, who is saving for her daughter's medical treatments. Marcus' voice rose. This is business, Mother. Not a charity. If you cannot separate emotions from logic, then you really do not belong in this room. The words hit me like a punch. Daniel Cross shifted in his seat, looking uncomfortable now. One of the younger investors whispered something to his colleague. Robert Chin stood up. Marcus is right. Mrs. Harrison, you are clearly too emotional about this. Perhaps you should step down and let Marcus handle things. Step down. From my own company. Marcus walked over to where I stood. He put his hand on my shoulder. The gesture probably looked caring to everyone else. But his grip was tight. Almost painful. Mother, he said quietly. You are making a scene. These people came here to finalize a deal worth billions. You are embarrassing yourself and embarrassing me. I looked up at my son. When had he become this person? When had success turned him into someone who would humiliate his own mother for money? Get out, Marcus said suddenly. His voice was loud enough for everyone to hear. This is my boardroom now. You are too old and too confused to be part of these decisions anymore. So get out. The room went completely silent. No one moved. No one spoke. They just stared as my son told me to leave the company I built. Picked up my bag. My hands were shaking now, but I kept my head high. I walked toward the door slowly. Each step felt like walking through mud. At the door I turned back. Marcus had already returned to the head of the table. He was laughing at something Daniel said. Like nothing had happened. Like he had not just destroyed his mother in front of a room full of strangers. Have fun, I said softly. Marcus looked up. Have fun with your merger. I hope it is everything you dreamed of. Something flickered across his face. Confusion maybe. But it was gone in a second. I walked out of the boardroom. Down the hallway past the photos on the wall showing our company history. Photos of me shaking hands with clients. Me accepting awards. Me building something from nothing. The elevator ride down felt endless. 28 floors of silence and shame. When the doors opened, I walked out into the bright afternoon. The sun was too cheerful for how I felt. I sat in my car for a long time before starting the engine. My phone buzzed. A text from Janet, my former assistant. Mrs. Harrison, are you okay? I heard what happened. I did not reply. How could I explain that my own son had just taken everything from me? But as I drove home, something changed inside me. The hurt started to shift. Started to harden into something else. Something stronger. Marcus thought he had won. He thought he had pushed the old woman out of the way so he could chase his dreams of billions and power. What Marcus did not know was that I still had cards to play. Cards I had been holding for years. Cards that would change everything. That night I sat in my study surrounded by old papers and memories. Legal documents. Company files. Letters from my late husband before he died. My husband James had been smarter than anyone gave him credit for. Before he passed away from cancer 12 years ago, he made me promise something. Protect what we built, he had said. Protect it from everyone. Even from Marcus if you have to. At the time I thought he was just being cautious. Now I understood he had seen something in our son that I had refused to see. I opened my laptop and pulled up the company incorporation papers. The original documents from 38 years ago. Then I opened the trust documents James had created in his final months. That is when I saw it. The thing I had forgotten about. The thing Marcus knew nothing about. Harrison Solutions was not actually Marcus' company. On paper he owned 48%. He thought he owned 55%. But the other 52% did not belong to him. It belonged to the Harrison Family Trust. And I was the only trustee. The only person who could make decisions about that 52%. Which meant I owned the company. Not Marcus. Me. My hands shook as I read through the legal language. James had set this up to protect me. To make sure that no matter what happened I would always have control. And I had completely forgotten about it. I grabbed my phone and called Linda Martinez, my lawyer for 25 years. Even though it was 9 at night, she answered on the second ring. Linda, I said, I need to see you first thing tomorrow morning. And bring every document related to the Harrison Family Trust. There was a pause. Renee, what is going on? I'm going to remind my son who really owns this company. The next morning I arrived at Linda's office at 7. She had coffee ready and a thick folder of documents spread across her conference table. Linda was 60 with sharp eyes and silver hair pulled back tight. She had helped me through my husband's death. Through company lawsuits. Through every crisis for 2 decades. If anyone could help me now, it was her. I told her everything. The boardroom. Marcus' words. The merger. The pension funds. By the time I finished, Linda's face was hard as stone. That boy needs to learn some respect, she said. Smiled. Can we stop this merger? Linda flipped through the documents. According to the trust terms, any major corporate transaction over $10 billion requires written approval from the trustee. That is you. Marcus' signature alone is not enough. The relief that washed over me was overwhelming. So the merger cannot happen without me. Correct. And looking at these documents, the merger also violates several trust provisions about employee welfare. James specifically included language protecting employee benefits in any major deals. My husband had thought of everything. Linda pulled out her phone. I'm going to file paperwork today with the SEC and the state. By this afternoon, Global Tech will know the deal requires your approval. And Marcus will find out he does not actually control the company. How long until Marcus knows? Linda smiled. Probably about 2 hours after I file. Global Tech legal team will contact him immediately. I looked at the clock. It was 7:30. Which meant by 10 o'clock this morning Marcus' world was going to explode. Do it, I said. Linda made the calls right there while I watched. Each conversation was brief and professional. But I could tell by her tone that she was enjoying this. When she finished, she looked at me seriously. Renee, what do you want to happen next? Do you want to just block the merger, or do you want to take back control of the company? I thought about Marcus' face when he told me to get out. Thought about him calling me too old and too confused. Thought about him planning to destroy 400 families for his own glory. I want my company back, I said. All of it. Linda nodded. Then we need to call an emergency board meeting. As majority shareholder, you have that right. We can force a vote on Marcus' position as CEO. My heart raced. Fire my own son. Could I really do that? Then I remembered Janet and David and Maria. Remembered all the people who trusted me to protect them. People Marcus was willing to sacrifice without a second thought. Set up the meeting for tomorrow, I said. First thing in the morning. I drove to the office even though I had been told to leave. This was still my company. I still had rights. And I wanted to be there when Marcus found out the truth. Parked in my old spot. The one marked reserved for founder. Marcus had tried to take it away last year, but I had refused. Now I was glad I had fought for it. The lobby was busy with employees rushing to meetings. Some of them smiled at me. Others looked away embarrassed. Everyone had heard what happened yesterday. I took the elevator up to the 28th floor. To Marcus' office. His assistant, Emily, looked shocked when she saw me. Mrs. Harrison, I did not know you were coming in today. I am here to see Marcus. He is in a meeting with the legal team and he said not to disturb. Smiled. Trust me, Emily. He will want to see me. I walked past her desk and opened Marcus' office door without knocking. He was standing by the window talking on his phone. When he saw me, his face went red. "I will call you back," he said into the phone. Then he hung up and turned to me. "Mother, what are you doing here? I told you yesterday." "I know what you told me, Marcus." I sat down in one of his leather chairs without being invited. "But we need to talk." "There is nothing to talk about. The merger is happening. Your concerns have been noted and dismissed. Now please leave before I call security." I crossed my legs and got comfortable. "Call them if you want. But you might want to hear what I have to say first." His phone rang. He glanced at it and his face changed. It was clearly someone important. He answered. "Marcus Harrison speaking." His voice was confident, professional. Then I watched as all the color drained from his face. "What do you mean, approval from the trustee?" His voice rose. "I am the majority shareholder. Have full authority to." He stopped talking and listened. His hand gripped the phone so tight his knuckles turned white. "That is impossible. My father never." He paused. "No, I was not aware of any trust." "When was this established?" I sat quietly and watched my son world crumble. "I will call you back," Marcus said finally. He hung up and stared at me. "What did you do?" "I did not do anything, Marcus. Your father did. 12 years ago when he knew he was dying." Marcus sat down heavily in his chair. He looked like someone had punched him. "The trust," he said. "The Harrison family trust. And you are the trustee. The only trustee." He was quiet for a long moment. Then he laughed. A bitter, angry sound. "So all this time I thought I owned the company. But it was you. It was always you. Your father wanted to protect what we built. He knew that sometimes the people we love make bad decisions. So he made sure I could stop those decisions if necessary." Marcus' face twisted with anger. "So yesterday in the boardroom, you knew. You knew you could stop the merger, but you let me humiliate you anyway." "I did not know until last night. I had forgotten about the trust, honestly. But your behavior yesterday reminded me that your father was right to worry. The merger is worth $75 billion, Mother. $75 billion. You cannot throw that away because your feelings were hurt. This is not about my feelings, Marcus. This is about 400 people who will lose everything if this deal goes through. This is about the promises I made to employees who trusted me. Those people are replaceable. The merger is not." I stood up slowly. "No, Marcus. Those people are not replaceable. They are human beings with families and dreams and lives that matter. You are the one who is replaceable." His eyes went wide. "What does that mean?" "Means there is a board meeting tomorrow morning at 8. And the board will be voting on your future as CEO. You cannot do this. The board supports me. They all agreed with me yesterday. The board works for the majority shareholder. And that is me. Not you." Marcus stood up fast. His chair rolled back and hit the wall. "You are making a huge mistake. I have spent 10 years building this company into what it is today." "No, Marcus. I spent 38 years building this company. You spent 10 years trying to destroy what I created." His face was red now. Pure rage. "Fine. Fire me. Take your company back. But do not expect me to forgive you for this." I walked to the door and paused. "Marcus, I carried you for 9 months. I raised you alone after your father died. I sacrificed everything to give you a good life. And yesterday you told me to get out of my own boardroom because I was too old and confused to understand business." I turned to face him fully. "So no, Marcus. I do not expect your forgiveness. I do not need it." I walked out, leaving him standing there alone in his expensive office, surrounded by symbols of success built on my foundation. That night I barely slept. I kept thinking about the board meeting. About what I would say. About whether I was really ready to fire my own son. But every time doubt crept in, I remembered his words. "Get out. You are embarrassing yourself. Too old. Too confused." At 6 in the morning I got up and got dressed. I chose my navy blue suit. The one James had always said made me look powerful. I wanted to look powerful today. Linda met me in the parking garage at 7:30. She had a briefcase full of documents. Evidence of everything Marcus had done wrong over the past 2 years. "Are you ready?" she asked. "Well, But I am doing it anyway. The boardroom looked different today. The glass table seemed less intimidating. The chairs felt like they belonged to me. Because they did. This was my room. My company. My decision. The board members arrived one by one. Robert Chen came in first looking nervous. Then Susan Park, our CFO. Then James Morrison and Patricia Williams and David Kumar. All people I had hired over the years. Marcus arrived last. He looked terrible. Dark circles under his eyes. His suit was wrinkled. His confident swagger was gone. He sat down far from me this time. Not at the head of the table. That seat was mine now. Linda stood up to begin. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming on short notice. This meeting has been called by Mrs. Renee Harrison in her capacity as trustee of the Harrison Family Trust, which holds 52% of Harrison Solutions. Robert Chen interrupted. I am sorry, but I was under the impression that Marcus was the majority shareholder. Linda smiled. That was a common misconception. But legally, Mrs. Harrison has always held controlling interest through the family trust established by her late husband. She passed out copies of the trust documents. The board members read in silence. I watched their faces change as they understood what this meant. Susan Park spoke first. So any vote Marcus made as majority shareholder was actually invalid. Any vote requiring majority approval, yes. Linda said. Which includes his appointment as CEO. The approval of the global tech merger. And several other decisions over the past 5 years. Marcus' voice was cold. So you are saying everything I built is invalid? I'm saying you built it without proper authority. Whether it is invalid depends on what this board decides today. Linda turned to me. Mrs. Harrison, would you like to address the board? I stood up. My hands were shaking slightly, but my voice was steady. 10 years ago I stepped back from daily operations of this company. I wanted Marcus to have room to grow, to learn, to become the leader I thought he could be. I trusted him to honor the values this company was built on. Hard work, integrity, loyalty to our employees. I looked directly at Marcus. Yesterday my son told me I was too old and too confused to understand business anymore. He humiliated me in front of investors and board members. He ordered me out of my own boardroom. Robert Chen had the decency to look ashamed. But that is not why we are here today. We are here because Marcus has made decisions that violate everything this company stands for. The global tech merger would destroy the pension funds of 400 employees. It would eliminate profit sharing that families depend on. And Marcus knew this. He just did not care. Susan Park nodded slowly. I raised concerns about the pension funds last month. Marcus told me to focus on my job and let him handle strategy. Patricia Williams spoke up. He told me the same thing when I asked about the profit-sharing program. Marcus tried to defend himself. Every business decision involves trade-offs. You cannot build a billion-dollar company by worrying about every single employee. That is exactly my point, I said. Marcus, you see employees as numbers on a spreadsheet. I see them as people who trusted us with their futures. David Kumar cleared his throat. Mrs. Harrison, what are you proposing? I propose we reject the global tech merger immediately. I propose we launch a full audit of all major decisions made over the past 2 years. And I propose that Marcus be removed as CEO effective immediately. The room exploded. Everyone started talking at once. Marcus slammed his hand on the table. You cannot do this. This is insane. I have increased company value by 300%. I have brought in clients you could never dream of. I have made everyone in this room rich. He pointed at me. And you want to throw that away because I hurt your feelings. I stayed calm. No, Marcus. I want to throw that away because you forgot what this company is supposed to be. We are not here just to make money. We are here to build something that lasts. Something that treats people with dignity. Marcus laughed bitterly. That is naive, mother. That kind of thinking is why you never got past 50 million in revenue. I took this company to the next level. By crushing everyone beneath you, I said quietly. That is not the next level, Marcus. That is just greed. Linda called for a vote. All in favor of removing Marcus Harrison as CEO, please raise your hand. Susan Park's hand went up immediately. Then Patricia Williams. David Kumar hesitated but finally raised his hand. James Morrison raised his reluctantly. Robert Chen sat frozen. Robert I said, "You have known me for 20 years. You know what kind of person I am. What kind of leader I have always been." He closed his eyes. Then raised his hand. 5 out of 7. Linda said. The motion passes. Marcus Harrison is removed as CEO effective immediately. Marcus stood up so fast his chair fell over. "You will regret this. All of you. This company will collapse without me." "No, Marcus," I said sadly. "This company will finally return to what it was meant to be." Security arrived to escort Marcus out. He shook them off angrily. "I can walk myself out." At the door he turned back one last time. "You just destroyed your own son, mother. I hope you can live with that." Then he was gone. The room was silent. Linda started gathering papers. The board members looked shocked and uncomfortable. Susan Park finally spoke. "What happens now, Mrs. Harrison?" "Now," I said, "we get back to work. We tell our employees their pensions are safe. We restructure the company to focus on sustainable growth instead of quick profits. And we rebuild what was damaged." The first week after firing Marcus was the hardest of my life. News spread through the company like wildfire. Some employees were relieved. Others were worried about what it meant for their jobs. Everyone had questions. I called an all-hands meeting on Friday afternoon. The main conference room was packed. People lined the walls, sat on the floor, crowded in the doorway. I had not seen this many employees gathered in one place in years. I stood at the front of the room looking at all these faces, young and old, new hires and veterans. People who had trusted me to lead them and people who barely knew who I was. "My name is Renee Harrison," I began. "Some of you know me. Some of you have only heard stories. I am the founder of this company. And as of this week I am back in charge." The room was completely silent. I know there are a lot of rumors flying around. So let me tell you the truth. The global tech merger is cancelled. Your pensions are safe. Your profit sharing is protected. Nobody is losing their job because of this change in leadership. A wave of relief rippled through the crowd. Someone in the back actually started clapping. Others joined in. I held up my hand for quiet. I am not here for applause. I am here to make you a promise. This company was built on the idea that if we treat people right, they will do right by us. That if we invest in our employees, they will invest in our success. Somewhere along the way we lost sight of that. But we are getting back to it starting now. Janet stood up from her seat in the third row. "Mrs. Harrison, what does this mean for the future? Are we going to keep growing?" "But we are going to grow the right way. Sustainable partnerships, fair deals, ethical practices. We are not chasing billion-dollar mergers anymore. We are building something that will last." A young man I did not recognize raised his hand. "What about Marcus? What happened to him?" The room got very quiet. Everyone wanted to know, but no one else had dared to ask. Marcus is no longer with the company. That was a difficult decision, but it was necessary. He lost sight of what matters. And I could not let him destroy what we built. Someone called out. "Did he really try to sell the company and cut our pensions?" He did. The anger in the room was palpable. These people had worked hard. Had believed they were building careers and securing futures. And Marcus had been willing to throw that away. "But that is over now," I said firmly. "We are moving forward. And I need all of you with me. This company only works if we work together." After the meeting ended, people came up to thank me, to shake my hand, to tell me they were glad I was back. Janet hugged me and whispered, "You saved us." But as I drove home that night, I did not feel like a hero. I felt like a mother who had failed her son, who had raised a boy who grew into a man capable of such cruelty and greed. Over the next 3 months I worked 16-hour days. I met with every department head, reviewed every contract Marcus had signed, cleaned up messes I had not even known existed. The audit Linda ordered revealed some disturbing things. Marcus had been funneling company money into personal investments, had been giving himself bonuses that were never approved by the board, had been making promises to clients that we could not keep. We had to settle 3 lawsuits from angry partners who felt cheated. We had to renegotiate a dozen contracts. We had to apologize to clients and vendors and stakeholders. It was exhausting and humiliating, but slowly things started to improve. Susan Park turned out to be a brilliant CFO. She restructured our finances to be more transparent, created systems to prevent the kind of abuse Marcus had gotten away with. David Kumar, who I promoted to head of sales, exceeded every goal we set. Turns out when you treat salespeople fairly and pay them well, they actually sell more. Patricia Williams took over operations and improved efficiency by 30% in 3 months. She did it not by cutting corners but by listening to the workers who actually did the jobs every day. The company started to feel alive again, like it had in the early days when we were small and scrappy and everyone knew everyone else's name. I was sitting in my office one evening in late spring when Janet knocked on the door. She had a strange look on her face, half worried, half excited. "Mrs. Harrison," she said, "there is someone here to see you. He does not have an appointment, but I think you should see him." I knew before she said it. Marcus. He looked different when he walked in. He had lost weight. His expensive clothes were gone, replaced by khakis and a simple shirt. His hair was longer, less perfect. The arrogance that had always surrounded him like armor was completely gone. "Hello, Mother," he said quietly. "Marcus." I gestured to the chair across from my desk. He sat down and stared at his hands for a long moment. I had rehearsed this conversation 1,000 times in my head. All the things I wanted to say to him. All the anger and hurt and disappointment. But looking at him now, I just felt sad. "I am working at a small consulting firm," he said finally. "Making about 1/10 of what I used to make. My boss is younger than my former secretary. I share an office with 3 other people. Drive a Honda Civic. Live in a 1-bedroom apartment." I did not say anything. Just waited. Every day I wake up and think about what I had. What I threw away. The company. The respect. His voice broke on that last word. "I have been seeing a therapist twice a week. Dr. Chin downtown. She has been helping me understand how I became the person I was. How I lost my way so completely. And what have you learned?" I asked. "That success without character is worthless. That you can have all the money in the world and still be poor. That I treated the person who loved me most like garbage because I was too arrogant to see my own flaws." Tears were streaming down his face now. He made no effort to hide them. I felt my own eyes fill with tears. "Marcus, why did you hate me so much?" He looked up shocked. "I never hated you. I loved you. Just..." He paused, struggling for words. "I spent my whole life trying to prove I was worthy of you. Of what you built. And somewhere along the way, proving myself became more important than actually being worthy." The office was quiet except for the sound of traffic outside. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the floor. "Do you remember when I was 8, he said suddenly. "And I wanted to enter the science fair. You were working 3 jobs, but you stayed up with me every night for 2 weeks helping me build that volcano project." I smiled slightly. "You won 2nd place. I wanted 1st. I was so disappointed. But you told me that doing my best was more important than winning. That character mattered more than trophies." He wiped his eyes. "When did I forget that? When did I become someone who valued trophies more than character? I think it happened gradually. Success has a way of changing people. Of making them think they are better than everyone else. Including their own mother. Especially their own mother," I agreed. We sat in silence for a moment. Then Marcus spoke again. "I am not here to ask for my job back. I do not deserve it, and I know you would never give it to me. I am here to apologize. To tell you that you were right about everything. The merger. The employees. The way I treated people." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. "I wrote this down because I wanted to make sure I said it right." He unfolded it with shaking hands. "Mom, I am sorry for humiliating you. For calling you names. For treating you like you did not matter. For being so blinded by greed that I forgot you are the reason I have everything I ever had. For forgetting that you worked 3 jobs to feed me. That you sacrificed your dreams so I could chase mine. That you built a company from nothing so I would never have to struggle the way you did. His voice was barely a whisper now. I am sorry for being a terrible son. For breaking your heart. For betraying your trust. For becoming exactly the kind of person you taught me never to be. I stood up and walked around the desk. Marcus looked up at me with red eyes full of hope and fear. I pulled him into a hug. He collapsed against me, sobbing like the little boy he used to be. I forgive you, I whispered. Does not mean everything is fixed. Does not mean we go back to how things were. But I forgive you. We stood like that for a long time. A mother and her son. Broken but beginning to heal. When he finally pulled away, he wiped his face. Thank you. You did not have to do that. You are my son, Marcus. I will always love you. Even when you make it very hard. He smiled sadly. I made it very hard. You did. The company is doing well, he said. I have been following the news. New partnerships. Record employee satisfaction. Stock price up 20%. We are getting there. It is not easy, but we are building something sustainable. Dad would be proud of you. The mention of James made my throat tight. Your father saw this coming, you know. That is why he set up the trust. He loved you, Marcus, but he also knew you might need someone to save you from yourself. I wish I had listened to him. To you. To anyone who tried to tell me I was going in the wrong direction. We learn from our mistakes, I said. The question is what you do with those lessons. Marcus stood to leave. He hesitated. Can I come back sometime? Not to work. Just to talk. I would like that. The door he paused. I am going to spend the rest of my life trying to become the man you and Dad wanted me to be. The man I should have been all along. After he left, I sat back down at my desk. The sunset had painted the sky brilliant shades of orange and pink. The city below was alive with lights and movement. Janet knocked softly. Are you okay? I'm good. Better than I have been in a long time. She smiled. He is coming back around. Your son. Maybe. It will take time. But at least now there is a chance. 6 months later, Harrison Solutions celebrated its 40th anniversary. We rented out the convention center downtown and invited every employee past and present. Over 800 people showed up. I gave a speech talking about the early days. The struggles and triumphs. The lessons learned. The people who made it all possible. And I want to thank someone who is not here tonight, I said, looking out at the crowd. My late husband, James. He believed in this company when it was just a crazy idea. He supported me through every challenge. And he protected our future even after he was gone. This success belongs to him as much as to me. The crowd applauded. Janet stood up and raised her glass. To James Harrison. And to Renee Harrison for never giving up on what matters. Everyone stood. The applause was deafening. After the speeches, I mingled with employees. Heard their stories. Laughed at their jokes. Felt the warmth of being part of something bigger than myself. Near the end of the evening, I was standing by the windows looking out at the city when someone came up beside me. It was Marcus. I did not know you were here, I said, surprised. Came in through the back. Did not want to make a scene. I just wanted to see it. To see what you built. What I almost destroyed. We stood side by side in silence. It is beautiful, he said finally. Not the building or the success. People. The way they look at you. The way they talk about working here. That is what I never understood. That people are what make a company great. You understand it now. I'm starting to. He turned to face me. I got a promotion at my firm. Nothing major, but it is progress. And I have been volunteering at a youth business program teaching kids about entrepreneurship. Trying to pass on the right lessons this time. I am proud of you, Marcus. His eyes filled with tears. That means more to me than you know. We hugged briefly. Then he left quietly the way he came. The party continued around me, but I stood at the window thinking about the journey. From a garage to this. From humiliation to vindication. From broken to whole. Janet appeared with 2 glasses of champagne. To surviving, she said. Well, I clinked my glass against hers. To thriving. The next morning I arrived at the office early. Old habits. The building was quiet, peaceful. I walked through the halls looking at the photos on the walls. 40 years of history. There was a new photo from last night's party. The whole company gathered together. Smiling. Happy. United. I sat at my desk and opened my email. There was one from Marcus sent at 3 in the morning. I could not sleep, so I am writing this. Thank you for last night. Thank you for not banning me from the celebration. Thank you for everything, really. I know I have a long way to go to earn back your trust. But I promise I am trying. Every day I wake up and ask myself what kind of man I want to be. And every day the answer is someone like you. Someone with integrity and compassion and strength. Love you, Marcus. I read it 3 times. Then I replied, I love you too. And I believe in who you are becoming. Susan Park knocked on my door. Morning, Mrs. Harrison. Ready for the board meeting. Smiled. Ready. The board meeting was productive. We approved 3 new partnerships. Increased employee benefits. Set goals for sustainable growth over the next 5 years. Robert Chan, who had voted to fire Marcus, spoke up near the end. Mrs. Harrison, I want to say something. 6 months ago I went along with Marcus because I thought he was leading us to success. But you showed me that real success is not just about money. It is about doing right by people. Thank you for that lesson. The other board members nodded in agreement. We are all learning, I said. That is what makes us better. After the meeting I had lunch with Linda, my lawyer. We sat at our favorite cafe near the office. The same place we had sat dozens of times over the years. You did it, Linda said. You saved the company and you saved your son. I did not save Marcus. He is saving himself. I just gave him a reason to try. Same thing. Well, people can only change if they want to. I just showed him what he was losing. Linda sipped her coffee. What is next for you? You have the company running smoothly. Marcus is on a better path. You could retire. Travel. Relax. I laughed. Retire. I am 63. I have at least 20 more good years. So what will you do with them? I looked out the cafe window at people rushing past. Living their lives. Chasing their dreams. I want to start a foundation. 4 women entrepreneurs. Help them avoid the mistakes I made. Give them the support I never had in the early days. Linda smiled. James would love that. He would. That evening I drove home to the house James and I had bought 35 years ago. The same house Marcus grew up in. The same house he had planned to sell without telling me. But it was still mine. Still full of memories and love and hope. I made dinner. Simple pasta with vegetables. Poured a glass of wine. Sat in the garden as the sun set. My phone rang. Unknown number. Answered. Mrs. Harrison. This is Detective Brooks with the Fraud Division. I'm calling about Marcus Harrison. My heart stopped. What about him? We have been investigating some financial irregularities at his former company. His former company. He was not saying my company. He was being careful. What kind of irregularities? Embezzlement. Wire fraud. Securities violations. The amounts are significant. Over $12 million. Felt sick. When did this happen? Over a 3-year period ending about 8 months ago. Right before Mr. Harrison was terminated. Does Marcus know you are investigating? Not yet. We wanted to speak with you first since you are the primary victim. Victim. I was a victim of my own son. Mrs. Harrison, we need you to come in and give a statement. We also need access to company financial records. Course. When? Tomorrow morning if possible. This is a serious case. Mr. Harrison could face 20 years in prison. 20 years. My son could go to prison for 20 years. I hung up and sat very still in the garden. The wine forgotten. The pasta getting cold. Everything Marcus had said. About changing. About becoming better. About understanding what mattered. Was any of it real? Or was he just trying to manipulate me again? I called Linda. Told her about the detective. She was silent for a long moment. Renee, this changes things. If Marcus committed fraud, you have a legal obligation to cooperate with the investigation. No. And if he is convicted, he will go to prison. There is nothing you can do to stop that. I know, I repeated. Are you okay? Well, but I will be. The next morning I met Detective Brooks at his office downtown. He was a serious man in his 50s with tired eyes and a kind face. He showed me the evidence. Bank transfers. Fake invoices. Shell companies Marcus had created to hide the money. It was all there. Undeniable. Mrs. Harrison, I know this is hard. But we need your cooperation to build a case. I looked at the papers spread across the desk. Proof that my son was not just arrogant and greedy. He was a criminal. What happens now? We arrest him. He will be charged. There will be a trial unless he pleads guilty. And if he is convicted, 15 to 20 years most likely. These are federal charges. The judge will not be lenient. Closed my eyes. Saw Marcus as a little boy. Graduating college. Getting his first job. Becoming CEO. All of it leading to this. Do what you need to do, I said quietly. 2 days later the news broke. Former CEO of Harrison Solutions arrested on fraud charges. Marcus' face was all over the news. Being led out of his apartment in handcuffs. My phone would not stop ringing. Reporters wanting comments. Employees worried about the company. Friends offering sympathy. I turned it off and sat in my office alone. Janet brought me tea. Said nothing. Just sat with me. I failed him, I said finally. I raised him to be better than this. And I failed. Janet shook her head. You did not fail. Marcus made his own choices. You gave him every opportunity to be good. He chose something else. But he was changing. These past few months he seemed different. Real. Maybe he was. But it does not erase what he did. Actions have consequences. No. That is what makes this so hard. Trial lasted 6 weeks. I attended every day. Sat in the back. Watched my son face justice. The evidence was overwhelming. Marcus' lawyer tried to argue that he had been under pressure. That the company culture was toxic. That he made mistakes but did not intend to commit crimes. The jury did not believe him. Guilty on all counts. Marcus turned and looked at me when the verdict was read. His face was pale. His eyes were desperate. I'm sorry, he mouthed. He nodded. But I did not smile. Did not cry. Just acknowledged his words and turned away. At sentencing the judge was harsh. This was not a crime of passion or necessity. This was calculated theft from a company built by your own mother. You betrayed not just investors and employees but your own family. I sentence you to 18 years in federal prison. Marcus broke down sobbing. His lawyer tried to comfort him. But there was no comfort to be had. I walked out of the courtroom into the bright afternoon. The sun was shining. People were going about their normal lives. And my son was going to prison. Linda met me outside. Renee, I am so sorry. I looked up at the sky. Clear blue. Beautiful. How can the world look so normal when everything is broken? 'Cause life goes on. It always does. That night I sat in my study and wrote Marcus a letter. I knew he would not be able to receive it for several weeks. But I needed to write it anyway. Dear Marcus, you are going to prison. 10 years. By the time you get out you will be almost 60 years old. Half your life gone. I wish I could say I am surprised, but I am not. The fraud. The lies. The betrayal. It was all just an extension of who you had become. Someone who believed rules did not apply to him. Someone who thought he was smarter than everyone else. Someone who valued money over everything. I want you to know that I still love you. You are my son and that will never change. But I am also deeply disappointed. Not just in what you did but in who you became. You had every advantage. Every opportunity. And you threw it all away for money you did not even need. The next 18 years are going to be hard. You will have time to think about your choices. To understand the impact of your actions. To decide who you want to be when you are released. I hope you use that time wisely. I hope you finally learn the lessons I tried to teach you. That character matters more than success. That integrity is worth more than money. That the people you hurt along the way are not just obstacles. They are human beings who deserved better from you. I will not be visiting you in prison. That might seem cruel, but I need to protect myself. I need to move forward. I need to build a life that is not defined by your mistakes. But I will write you. And I will wait. Because despite everything, you are still my son. And I still believe somewhere inside you is the boy I raised. The one who knew right from wrong. The one who cared about others. Find that boy, Marcus. Bring him back. Love, Mom. I sealed the letter. Addressed it. Set it aside to mail in the morning. Then I poured myself a glass of wine and sat in James' study. His books still lined the shelves. His favorite chair still sat by the window. His presence still filled the room even though he had been gone for 12 years. I did the best I could. I whispered to the empty room. I tried to raise him right. The wind outside made the trees rustle. It almost sounded like a voice. You did. He made his own choices. Maybe that was James. Maybe it was my imagination. Maybe it did not matter. The next morning I went to the office. Business continued. The world kept turning. Susan Park had done an amazing job as acting CEO. The company was thriving. Employees were happy. Clients were satisfied. Mrs. Harrison Susan said when I arrived, "I've been thinking. You should make my position permanent. You need to step back. Focus on yourself. Let the company move forward without the shadow of Marcus hanging over it." She was right. I knew she was right. Are you sure you want that responsibility? I've been doing it for 6 months. And I love it. Let me lead. Let yourself rest. That afternoon we held a board meeting. I announced my retirement as CEO. Susan was promoted. The transition was smooth and natural. It was time. I spent the next year building my foundation. Women First Entrepreneurs. We provided grants, mentoring, resources for women starting businesses. Felt good to give back. To help others avoid my mistakes. To create opportunities. Marcus wrote me from prison. Short letters at first. Then longer ones. He talked about therapy. About the other inmates. About slowly understanding the depth of his failures. I wrote back. Not often. But enough to let him know I had not abandoned him completely. 2 years after his sentencing, I received a letter that was different. The handwriting was the same, but the tone was changed. I have been thinking a lot about the day I told you to get out of the boardroom. About the look on your face. The way your hands shook when you picked up your bag. The way you held your head high even though I had just destroyed you in front of everyone. I have replayed that moment 1,000 times. And every time I see it more clearly. I did not just humiliate you. I tried to erase you. To make you invisible. To pretend that everything you built did not matter. I wanted the glory for myself. The credit. The admiration. And I was willing to destroy my own mother to get it. There is no excuse for that. No explanation that makes it okay. I was wrong. Completely. Totally. Wrong. Prison has taught me things business school never did. About humility. About consequences. About the difference between success and significance. I am not the man I was. I am not even sure I am the man I want to be yet. But I am trying. Every day I wake up and try to be a little better. A little more honest. A little more humble. I do not know if you will ever forgive me. I do not know if I deserve forgiveness. But I want you to know that I finally understand. You were never the problem. It was. Thank you for never giving up on me. Even when I gave you every reason to. Love, Marcus. I read that letter sitting in my garden. The same garden where I had learned about the fraud investigation. The same garden where I had spent countless evenings trying to make sense of my son's choices. And for the first time in years I cried. Not tears of anger or disappointment. Tears of hope. Maybe Marcus would come out of prison a better man. Maybe he would finally understand what truly mattered. Maybe there was still a chance for redemption. Or maybe not. Maybe he would serve his time and come out unchanged. Maybe the lessons would not stick. Maybe I was fooling myself. But either way I had done my part. I had held him accountable. I had protected the company and its employees. I had shown him that actions have consequences. The rest was up to him. 5 years into Marcus' sentence, I received a call from the prison chaplain. "Mrs. Harrison, my name is Father Miguel. I'm calling about your son." My heart jumped. "Is he okay?" "He is fine. Physically. But I wanted to let you know that he has become very involved in our rehabilitation programs. He teaches other inmates about business ethics, about making better choices, about rebuilding your life after mistakes." Tears filled my eyes. "Really?" "He talks about you often. About the lessons you tried to teach him. About how he wishes he had listened sooner. Thank you for telling me. He asked me to tell you something. That he is finally becoming the man you wanted him to be. That it took losing everything to find himself. That he loves you. Tell him. Tell him I love him too." When I hung up, I sat very still. Then I laughed. A real genuine laugh. Marcus was changing. Finally. Truly. Not because he wanted something from me, but because he wanted something for himself. On my 68th birthday, the foundation held a gala fundraiser. We had helped over 300 women start businesses in 5 years. The success stories were incredible. As I stood on stage accepting an award for the foundation work, I looked out at the crowd. Friends, colleagues, employees past and present. Women whose lives had been changed by the opportunities we provided. "This is not about me," I said into the microphone. "This is about every woman who had a dream but not the resources. Every mother who wanted to build something but was told she was too old, too inexperienced, too emotional. This is about proving that women can build businesses and families and legacies that last." The applause was deafening. After the gala, Janet and I sat in the empty ballroom. She was 70 now and officially retired. But she still came to every event. Still supported the foundation. Still kept me grounded. "You did good, Renee," she said. "We did good," I corrected. She smiled. "Remember that day in the boardroom? When Marcus told you to get out? How could I forget? I thought you were going to break. I thought that was the end." Thought so too. But it was not the end. It was the beginning. I looked around the ballroom. At the decorations celebrating 5 years of success. At the photos of women who had built businesses from nothing. You are right. It was the beginning. Of finding out who I really was. What I was really capable of. What really mattered. And Marcus. He has 13 years left. But he is doing the work. Becoming better. I think when he gets out he might actually be the man I always hoped he would be. And if he is not, then I will know I did everything I could. The rest is up to him. Janet raised her glass. To strong women who refuse to be erased. I clinked my glass against hers. To second chances. For everyone. Now at 68 I run the foundation. I mentor young entrepreneurs. I spend time with friends and family. Volunteer. I travel. I live. The company is thriving under Susan's leadership. My employees are taken care of. My legacy is secure. And somewhere in a federal prison my son is learning the lessons I tried to teach him 40 years ago. It is not the ending I imagined. But it is the ending we have. And I have made peace with that. Because at the end of the day I did not let Marcus erase me. I did not let him destroy what I built. I did not let him break me. I stood up. Fought back. I reclaimed my power. And that is a victory worth celebrating. The boardroom where I was humiliated is still there. But I am not defined by that moment anymore. I am defined by what I did next. And what I did next was survive. Build something even better from the ashes of betrayal. So to anyone who has ever been told they are too old, too confused, too emotional, too anything, do not believe it. Stand up. Fight back. Reclaim what is yours. Because you are stronger than you know. And your story is not over yet. Mine certainly was not.